officially begin. Good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for making time on a Wednesday to be here. As a few people have shared, this is the longest, shortest week ever. Did I have it right? The longest, shortest week.
Yes.
So I thank you all for making the time for this. It shows the interest you have in making the efforts for your dental career. Today is a very humbling day for me because we have someone that I really, really admire and respect to talk to us about mindset. It is very easy to confuse what that means, and I feel like we have the best person to talk to us about it. This is someone it's like my big brother, my friend, someone that really helped me, especially when I was trying to apply to school, just from like his words and the germs and everything that he shared. So I would like to introduce you all to Dr. Jared Williams. He left some really, really big shoes to fill as the former vice president of diversity in dentistry. So I'm really struggling to
Oh,
keep up to all that he could do. He's a very accomplished dentist, general dentist with over a decade of expertise. He does everything. He does sedation, oral surgery, and implantology. And he is a concierge dentist in Houston. And he has like the third molar. He has a third molar class. He's like the expert. If you're struggling with that, he's the person to know. He went to Alsik High School and then Meharry Medical College, and he did the general practice residency at the University of Pennsylvania. He's very passionate. He's like one of the first mentors we had. He's an advocate for dentistry. He's leading the charge for Smile After Surgery, which is he has an amazing social media presence. He's an amazing husband, an amazing father. There is so much more that I can say, but I don't have enough time. So to I'll pass it on to him. But before I do that, I would just like to recognize Dr. Laila for being here, running out from clinic and making the time to be with us. She founded this because it's something she's passionate about, and I'm humbled as well that, like, the first line on my screen has Dr. Williams, me, and Dr. Laila, and it feels like 2020 all over again.
I know it does. It really does. Oh, well, thank you, Luma. And before we pass it over, just, thank you so much for just the recognition and the beautiful greetings. And I'm so glad to see everyone here and everyone who is going to just gain so much from the replay when you're watching this later. Uh, Luma said it perfectly. We really were the three musketeers, and plus Lynn, we were
Then,
the four of us together, really who put in the legwork to build up. And I remember Dr. Williams reaching out to ask, why I was passionate about that before he got involved, and that really meant a lot to me there, Jared. If you remember that conversation, and you said that's all I needed to know, and you jumped in full force ahead to just do what we needed to do for these students. He was before we had these webinars. We were having just accountability calls. He just wanted to make sure that until we could get our mentees matched with mentors, that we were mentoring the students who needed us. And on Saturday mornings, I remember you would do it super early in the mornings,
really,
like the serious ones will show up.
Yeah.
And I am proud to say that we have some success stories from that first cohort of students. So thank you. Thank you for always being there for us. Thank you for being here for the future of dentistry. And I just know everyone here is going to be blessed by your words, your encouragement, as I have been. So thank you, Dr. Williams. Everyone, enjoy. I'm going to turn it over.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have one of the cohorts, Kimberly, on here, Newtall. She was one of those from 4 years ago, so that always warms my heart to see some um, doctors on the call from going back. It's an honor and privilege to be here. I remember 2004 when we first started. I remember Dr. Highshaw. She was just like, "Hey, are we going to have this money? Are we going to have this?" And now she's all over getting checks upon checks upon checks upon checks. And the only reason why she's getting those checks is to serve you all and give y'all the input, the guidance, and the mentors you need in order to fulfill your goals. And so it's an honor and privilege. And, Luma always being in the background, and, God allows things to happen for a reason. He pulled me out to push and catapult Luma in that position. And so she has some bigger shoes to fill to pass on to you all as Dr. Highshaw and the gang take it to the next level. So it's an honor and privilege to be here. I was tasked to speak about mindset, but the way in which I lecture or teach is I don't ever want to just talk to you about what's on my heart because y'all could care less about me. Y'all care about what you want. And the thing is that the more you give me, the more I give you. But if you give me nothing, I can't do anything for you. So I've worked with some very impressive minds. I've done a lot of impressive things, but once again, that doesn't mean anything. But my goal is to give y'all as much value for the 12 more hours we're going to be on this call. Isn't that right, Luma?
At least 12.
At least 12 more hours. All
Yes.
right. Get y'all prepared for dental school early. And for those who are already in it, give y'all the mindset. But my goal is to give y'all as much value as possible. I know we're going to talk about mindset and we'll touch on that. But I just want to know if anybody wanted to be courageous and be vulnerable and share some questions or or just ask some questions about, what type of mindset you want to have, or just questions that we could give you as much value as this. Because I don't just want to just ramble, because that's not going to do anything for you or myself. So if you want to just take a second, you could either tap it in the chat, or if you want to just throw some questions in so that we could answer those questions for you. And I see some beautiful, beautiful young ladies. You remind me of my daughter. My daughter's gonna be coming around. I don't know why there's no men, but it's all right. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on this. All right. It's all right. It's all right. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them on in there, and then we'll keep it moving.
Okay, in the interest of time, because this was a topic that was presented as something that they would like to hear about.
Okay.
So one of the questions, like one of the things that was asked was, the process of applying to dental school is very stressful, especially for the type A personalities that are attracted to this career. So how do you handle it when you've succeeded all through? Like you usually that A student, you're usually the person that has done everything right, and then you finally get told no. Like how do you, like it's coming, like how do you prepare yourself, or how do you handle it when you're told no, or when you put all your effort in and it's not the result you want?
Well, good. So unlike Luma, I was a 246 GPA student.
You have to go there.
Yeah, I had to go there quickly. I want to get y'all's attention because y'all probably think that, oh, he's a doctor, he's a married, all this other crap. He went to Penn, he went to HBCU, blah blah blah. People get excited about that. I get excited about having a 246 GPA. That's what I get excited about. Because after I figured out the game, and this is just a game, once you figure out the game, you can navigate it even with the D minus average, and get in. Finished dental school the first time. I didn't have to take any tests, and I was able to navigate when I had a 246 GPA in college, Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama, which is a HBCU, as a black male. But it's just a game. So I got a lot of no's, not because I was persistent. I got a lot of no's because I had a crappy GPA that I earned, by the way. But because I decided to make the decision to humble myself, ask for help, follow the help that was given, and do exactly how I was told. Now I sit in front of you as an authored lecture. There's a book right there, international lecture. I'll be speaking at Chicago Midwinter in February, which is the top 4 dental conference in all of the United States. Um, train GPs, a specialty procedure in third molar surgery, clinical system professor. I go on and 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 on. Oh, and then by the way, I'm black and I'm young. All right. So it kind of it allows you to see that, this guy's hitting on something. That's just the scratching the surface, because I haven't talked about all the people that I've been able to work with to allow them to get to their success. So, no is part of the game, and you need to be excited for it. As a matter of fact, one of my mentors would say, when you hear somebody say no, you should, just makes you feel good inside, because, you haven't done anything until you heard enough no's. You should get excited, and you should be excited. As a matter of fact, there's a proverb I love. It says, consider it pure joy when you go through various trials, which means you need to be excited when you get that no. Because oftentimes the no's are the exact places that you need to be opposed to a yes. You don't learn anything in a yes. And so, like I said, I had a 2.46 GPA my freshman year in college as a biochemistry major, and I flipped the script, and here we are now. And I got some stuff. I'm about to change the world. Like I help facilitate what diversity as dentistry is doing, and we got some really, 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 really big stuff that's going to change the landscape around the world when it comes to dentistry, when it comes to dentistry in the world. Like I'm letting you know. This is just the beginning. So we have some really big stuff. I see Dr. Golden on there. And we have some really, 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 really big things that are going to actually change the way in which dentistry is the practice coming 2025. So I'm just letting y'all know. So I'm telling you this stuff that not that I read in a book, that I'm telling you stuff I'm actually living and breathing and working with individuals who have the capacity, the ability, and the mindset and the vision to accept the vision and run with it. So no you should get you happy. I'm getting goosebumps as I hear no. I get goosebumps as I hear no. So you need to be excited when you get that no, because some places you don't need to be. As a Black woman, as a Black male, certain places you shouldn't be at all, especially in these professional spaces. Now, I don't know if they warned you about me. We just getting warmed up. We just getting warmed up. I have no filter. And the reason why I don't have a no filter is because I know what it's like to be from an HBCU and Ivy League. So I got best of both worlds, and I'm the best in business. So I'm just letting you know that, it's real. People are committing suicide over this. I hope y'all prepared. I hope y'all are prepared. People are committing suicide over this. People are losing their health. People are losing their marriages. People are losing their kids. This is no game. And so legitimately, I believe that God literally has to say, hey, this is where I want you to be, because if not, you will lose yourself in all this. And the only person you have is yourself to blame. And prayer will not guide you through this process. Just want to make sure that's clear. Prayer will not guide you through this process. You have to know that this is what God has put on your heart to be. Because like my daughter, who's 9 years old, if she says, daddy, 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 I want to do this, and it's not in my will, her prayer or petition to the government is denied. So whomever you pray to or believe in, if it's not according to their will, like my daughter would say, daddy, 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 I want to have candy before I go to sleep, her prayers are denied. And if you are knocking up a door and saying, God, 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 please, 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 I want to get in this, I want to get in. No, you are going to find yourself in a whole world of trouble. So I just want to make sure that you all understand that. And when you get a no, you should get excited. I was telling the team earlier today how some things have hit my family and myself to the core, to the point to where you want to commit suicide, like legitimately. Like I'm telling y'all stuff that's real, that want to keep you in depressed mode. But the things that by hearing that no and preparing myself for these points and trusting in the creator, is allowing me to be in rooms in just the beginning to like really flip the way in which dentistry is delivered on a global stage. And oh, by the way, I'm Black. Oh, by the way, I'm young. So we just getting started. But I want to let you know that when it comes to a no, get excited. Consider it pure joy, not just pure joy. Like oh man, it's unadulterated. So what else you got?
Okay. Since nobody's typing, I will go back to the list.
We got a question. We got a hand raised. I
Okay.
like that. Go ahead. Ursula.
Yes. So, I have a question. So, when it comes to how does a growth mindset look for you? Like, how do you go about that? Because I guess like each person has a way in which they go through the method of having a growth mindset. But as Luma had mentioned, there are people that um, can oftentimes want to be perfectionist, and then not achieving that goal may sometimes affect them more than it needs to. And so kind of like trying to get your perspective on what does a growth mindset look like, and how have you practically placed that in the work that you do and everything?
I think I'm
So
mistakenly sharing my screen with Usala. That is the question that I was going to read.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
So I would say this, Ursula. I could hear there's some traumas that you just threw out there you didn't even know.
It's
It's
that
okay.
Cameroonian connection.
No, you're good. Yeah, it's you have some traumas that are in there that's present. And unfortunately, we as Black, I hate the word minority, so you'll never hear me say that. People of color, no. As Black people, um, we have traumas because number one, systemic, number two, generational curses, and then number three, when you reach a certain height, you want to keep everybody at bay. And so, before you get to a growth mindset, you legitimately have to deal with those traumas because you'll get to the height that you want, but you'll see another person that looks just like you and give them hell because your professors are giving you hell. And so anybody that looks like you're going to give them hell. And so it's impossible for you to have a growth mindset that's healthy and foundational if you haven't looked at the traumas in your life. So so your question, I know you didn't ask me about the trauma side of it, but just hearing your question, because my wife has got me on listening. She's like, Jared, you need to listen. You need to listen. It's one of these things to where, being a Black woman, because everybody on here is women, it seems like, couple with the maybe give or take one or two males, but being a Black woman in professional career is extremely challenging. My wife, who's a physician, studied at University of Medicine and Dentistry in New Jersey. She used to get hit hard, all sorts of racism. And I used to think that, get over it. Now, my dad, who's an Army Ranger, and my mom, who grew up in Newark, they had three boys, me being the youngest, and they showed us how to navigate that process. And so we could play in both arenas and be just fine and thrive. But not everybody has that training. And so when I would listen to her story, she would get deaf ears from me because I'm like, just get over it. It's not that big of a deal. Well, when life happened, I had to look at what was truly happening as I learned her story and understood who she was. I understood that, wait a second, there is a systemic issue that nobody's talking about. And especially if you're Black, you don't want to discuss because, hey, now I'm here. I can't let these and such people, hope y'all got that.
Yes.
These people allow me to see this vulnerability. Give you an example. So, as a clinical assistant professor at the University of Texas School of Dentistry in the graduate clinics, GPR there's a young lady that walks up, and my specialty is third molar surgery. And I'm gonna get to your growth mindset. She comes to me. No, I see her, and I say, you know what? You are smart, you are intelligent, and you belong. Now, I never met this young lady a day in my life. I told her, you're going to do great. Carry on. Well, 10 minutes into me telling her that, she comes to me. She sits down. She takes off her glasses. Now, she's beautiful, like all you Black young ladies that are on this call right now. And you Black young ladies love to have these thing called these lashes. They're so pretty. They just flap all over the place. Oh, it's so beautiful. Beautiful. And she takes off her glasses and she's like wiping her face like this. And I'm like, what is going on? And as she's wiping her face, the lashes drop. And I'm like, whoa, the heck? And she's bawling, crying. Now, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told her. I'm married. I'm not trying to get in your pants. I'm not trying to use you. I'm not trying to make myself better. I'm not trying to get anything out of you. I just desire you to grow and get and fulfill your dreams and goals. Because I have a 9-year-old daughter that I want you to use nepotism for and not allow her to fill out any application or pay anything because her father took care of you and didn't want anything from it. And so I'm telling you this because when I told my wife this, she was just like, Jared, you saw her. You acknowledge that she existed. And a lot of us, either known or unknown, are dealing with a tremendous amount of traumas. And for me to say that to this young lady, and all of 10 minutes she's crying out of her lashes that she paid a pretty penny for, is a very vulnerable position to be. And somebody to just acknowledge who she is and see her, and nobody's trying to get in her pants. Nobody's trying to solicit anything from her. Nobody's trying to do anything but just say, hey, I see you and I want you to thrive. That's pretty big. It's a pretty big deal. And so once you are able to understand that you matter, you're smart and you're intelligent, by the simple fact that you are Black, you're better than majority of all your classmates by default, because all the hell that we have to go through. See, people don't talk like this. I really don't care because I have gotten to the point in my career that I've said this in white crowds, Black crowds, and everything between, and my approval rating when I come and lecture is through the roof, because this is not something that's fake. It's not something that I'm trying to get a coin or anything like that. It's just real. And people need to hear the truth, because that truth is going to set them free. And so once you deal with those traumas and acknowledge the fact that you are valuable, you are smart, and you have what it takes to belong, and by default, because all the hell and hoops that you have to jump through, they're going to allow you to have a certain level of resolve that's going to allow you to have that growth mindset and really jump into it. And so that growth mindset starts a little bit daily. If you think of it like you're planting a seed, every seed that you plant in terms of fulfilling your dreams day by day and watering it over time, even when you don't feel like it and everything's just the storms of life come, the seeds that you plant will come to fruition. And over time, legitimately, you'll look back and like, oh my goodness, what did I have transpire? The challenge is this. Number one, you got to plant the seeds, such as exercise, doing simple things, even if it's 5-10 minutes a day, drinking water. And as you can see, I'm touching on some principles of health. You know, you don't have to have the perfect GPA like Luma did. All right. I'm not smart like her, but I married into the Nigerians. I got one of my Nigerian of my own. And my wife, who's a Nigerian, she was the smartest person in class. And that's how I was able to flip that 2.46 GPA into, the position I'm in right now. And so so it's your health, it's your environment, it's the people that you're associating with, it's that you're actually following through with your goals and your visions. And then most importantly, recognizing that you belong. And Ursula, that's how you're going to have that growth mindset. There's a lot of gurus, and I'm literally legitimately writing a book about what the gurus don't tell you, because people like to start with the growth mindset. But if your foundation sucks, that growth is just going to be on the ground, and you're going to start all over. And you'll be one of the individuals who will want to commit suicide, be one of the individuals that will end up losing your family. Like it just is what it is. And so the thing is this, is that when you have the right foundation, when you have the right mindset, then by default, this growth mindset is just who you are. Like there's no such thing as birds. There's no school for birds. They just fly. There's no school. There's no school for fish. There's a school of fish, but there's no school of fish. Nobody's teaching us fish how to swim. But when you look at how God created us, when you operate in who you are, by default, you're going to have growth mindset. That makes sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you so much for that wisdom.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
In the interest of time, I'll go to my next question. I know you share this with me a lot, but I know, and it's those things that people go through. Your favorite phrase. So don't bite me. I'm just a messenger.
Go.
Imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome. All right. Yeah, I thought about that. So imposter syndrome is key. It's not something that just Black people have. Everybody has it. If you have a pulse, you have imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is broken down into like 5 major things. And I believe Ursula highlighted it. It's just like, what do you do to prevent yourself from overworking? That's a classic sign of imposter syndrome. So you have to understand that once you have that foundation set, whatever you do to have placed yourself in that room, you belong. So you don't have to over prepare. You don't have to think as if, hey, I was lucky that I got a A when everybody else didn't. It's those types of things, like looking around to see that, hey, I don't think I belong because whatever. Like, that's what imposter syndrome is. And the more you understand that this is not a black thing, but it's a thing that everybody deals with, I don't care what you look like, what background you have, what religion or culture you subscribe to. You know, the blessing behind what I do as a professor and training doctors that come all around the United States to come to this program in Houston is I see it all. And because I see it all, and then being raised in Houston, Texas, which is the school I went to, undergrad was the most, I mean, for high school was the most diverse high school in either all of the United States or all of in Texas,
The country.
was I got to see every culture. And there's so many cultures that have like intimate relationships with different individuals from different walks of life, from either the people that I practice with as a concierge dental surgeon, like going to different offices and making them money. So when you make somebody money and give them value, they get to show you something that most people otherwise wouldn't. And so just by seeing that and understanding that, this is something that everybody's being struggling with. And so once you're able to have the awareness, then that's when you're able to say, all right, got some of my teeth right here. Let me get it out. Kind of like in a sense. So those are certain things that you may want to take in consideration.
Okay. Does anyone have anything, or should I continue on my list? So
Looks like Leah does. I think Leah wants to say something. Yeah, there she is.
I don't have
Getting it.
anything to say. I genuinely am just grateful to be here and just to take it out. And I think a lot of the questions that I had initially kind of relate to everything you've already answered. I actually am currently in the application process. So I think most of my um, I won't say issues, but like things that I'm like facing right now is just like the waiting game, like playing the waiting game. So just like trying to find the word, stewarding my weight well.
Oh, I like that.
Is like what I'm trying to like make sure that I do.
Yeah.
Because like I don't want to fall into the cycle of the like imposter syndrome. Like, oh, like I'll never hear back. Like I don't want to like fall into that mindset because I don't believe that. I know, like you said, like it's a game, and I know that like it requires a lot of patience. So I guess, like I said, just trying to steward the weight well, in the meantime is my main focus. So, I guess if you want to speak to that, but outside of that, I genuinely don't have any questions. I'm just here to take it in.
Lies, lies, lies. Nah, you used some really good words. I like the fact that you didn't say you put any negative stuff on you. That's very important. Growth mindset hack right there. I like the fact that she used the word stewardship, because stewardship is a big word. It was used a lot in Greek and the Hebrew. It was translated into management. That's the actual word. That if you think of it from the sense of management principles, like those are some big stuff that she has. So she's a heavy hitter. So if y'all, she may be one of the smartest ones on here. She's speaking like that, or one of the smartest ones on there. So speak to Leah. She has some. She's dropping some really major stuff right there. But yeah, so I'll give you an example. So a friend and I, we're putting on this conference, and it'll be dropped. And this is not a plug for it, but I just want you to kind of get an idea, the aspect of the whole waiting game. Now, this conference that we're putting on, it is going to change the way in which dentistry is going to be delivered across the whole United States and the world. And the thing is this, is that when you put on an event and you are changing the outlay and disrupting what the status quo has, it takes a lot of time. Can't just put this in the microwave and be like, all right, let's do it. Everything has to be critiqued. You have to get used to hearing no. As a matter of fact, I'm reading this book now. It talked about how you need to consistently be okay with being surprised, which means the expectation is Leah's planning on going to one dental school, but she actually gets into this dental school and they're actually going to pay her, but she really wanted to go this one. And you can see her smile starting to get a little bigger and bigger right there. And when you understand that those concepts, the waiting game gets to be so much more exciting. It's no longer like, oh my goodness, it doesn't bring anxiety because, and so here we are. Here, I'll drop some pearls for y'all. So write this down. So my wife, she's a physician. And one day we're talking about depression. And she was like, Jared, I'm dealing with depression. And I was like, never heard of that before. I've heard of it, but she really didn't know. So I was like, what does depression mean? So I'm simple. I had the 246 and I followed the smartest person in class. And so here we are. So I was like, what does depression mean? She was just like, depression means that you're fearful of what happened in the past. So I started thinking to myself, I was like, man, I guess I am depressed. I deal with depression. Now I used to say it in the past because I knew it was something that I dealt with, but I didn't have a definition. And I was like, well, what about anxiety? Because she would talk to me how she would go round and her heart would have palpitations. I was like, I never had that. But I was like, what is anxiety? And she was like, anxiety is, you're fearful of the future. And I thought to myself, I was like, I was like, well, how do you cure it? She was like, oh, just stay in the present. I was like, oh my gosh, that is a game changer. Ow. I was like, oh my gosh. I was reading this book. This guy, he's I forget the name of the book, but he is a psychiatrist. And he says the reason why the majority of people have these mental illnesses is because they don't want to look at themselves. And so when you're able to stand in present, when you're able to look yourself in the mirror and deal with what life actually looks like, when you are on the waiting process, you are just able to get excited and just be like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens because you've done your part. You put in the long hours. You stewarded your time. You're not going to look at yourself as, I don't know if I'm doing the right stuff. And I want to let you know, if you felt that way, 99% of all people that are going through the same exact process, even the ones that don't look like you, but they all look like you because they got long hair and glasses and they have the same anatomies or opposite thereof, are going to feel the same exact way. And so, like, when you understand it from that perspective and just realize, hey, man, we're all the same. Yeah, we may have different foods that we like and different clothing, different spices or the lack thereof. We're all the same. Because my wife, she likes to spend on my credit card. And I'm pretty sure if y'all got married, y'all do the same. So I was just letting y'all know, like, when y'all are in that position, y'all gonna want to do the same. So, that's what I would say towards that. But thank you, Lee. I knew you had something to say. It's smart and intelligent. I like it.
And I am glad it came to that, because another of the things, like when it comes to mindset, it is a lot about self-awareness and self-reflection. So how do you go about developing a greater self-awareness? That way you're more in tune with your strengths and your weaknesses and how you can play into them or use them to your advantage.
You're asking some deep questions. I don't know if y'all want to get the answer to these, but you asked.
No better person than from you, Dr.
All
Jared.
right. I'll share it like this. So I've been married for 13 years, and for the last 6, I've been happily married. Married 13, but happily married for 6. And so if you do the math on that, 13 minus 6 gives you what? Help me out, Luma.
7.
7. All right, 7. So 7 years of complete and utter being upset. And during those 7 years, I thought I was supposed to get something every night. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to. And I go there. Um, I thought that my wife was supposed to do certain things and fulfill certain things that I wanted, how I thought, what I expected, but we come from two different cultures. And one of the best things that could have ever happened is that my wife went to residency in Cleveland, Ohio for 3 whole years while we had I always tease her that she left me with our 1-year-old daughter, who was actually 2. And so for those 3 years, I used to, prior to that, I always used to try to think that I was right and my wife was wrong. But during that years of God putting me in the wilderness, I realized that my wife wasn't the problem. I was. And I thought you women would be clapping and getting all excited, like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But I was the problem. And it was challenging because, and I go here as an elder in a church, ordained elder in a church, to praying for people and all this stuff, complete fraud. And I thought that there was only certain ways in which things could occur, and it had to be my way. But once I was brought into the wilderness, I was forced to look at myself in the mirror. And then once I did that, oh my goodness, it was super challenging because I'm used to sleeping with somebody warm in the bed, but now I got this little 2-year-old kicking me and putting their feet in my face and all this stuff. And it's just like, oh my gosh, man, why is this happening? But because God knew that if I keep you and your wife together here and make it comfortable for you, which means you don't have to look yourself in the mirror, you don't get to take any accountability. And accountability, or the lack thereof, is the fastest way to mental illness. Because you see something and you know it's right, but you say, no, it's not. You see something and in your mind, you trick your mind and you say, no, it's not. And after a while, your mind starts playing tricks on you. And so when you don't take that accountability and you start blaming everybody else, disaster happens. And so that would be the way in which you're able to, take that accountability and run with it, because now I'm more equipped to listen and to serve others. And now my wife, who's been sitting at home relaxing for the last since January, hasn't had to lift up or see a patient or anything. She just swipes my credit card. And I'm just like, oh, whatever. And it's probably one of the best things I've ever transpired. But the thing is, this is like, when you look in the mirror, that's when you start making the big changes. And once I realized that she wasn't the problem and I was, that's when life changed.
So be comfortable, honestly looking into the mirror.
Honestly, a lot of people don't want to look at the mirror. They want to say, "Oh, I look good. Oh, I don't smell. Oh, I'm good as it is. My stuff doesn't stink." Knowing they stink. Knowing they stink.
This is just
Yeah,
the way I am.
I, I know y'all been around people who have body odor and they're like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh." And they're just walking around like, it's like, dude, seriously? Nah. And it's hard because it could be a cultural issue. And sometimes it could just be a blind spot. And that's the most challenging thing. And then if it's a blind spot that they have, and then you take it personally, now you just compounded the problem. But when you're legitimately wanting to improve and get better and just take it one day at a time, everything's gonna work out. And then sometimes God will legitimately put you in the wilderness by yourself, put you in timeout so you can look at yourself, so that when you come back, he allows you to play with others, you'll play with them nicely. And so now when my wife are reunited, now I'm just like, hey, there's no, put like this. How many men do y'all know will legitimately let their wife just spend whatever they want and let them stay at home? It's not a lot.
Many.
There you go. There you have it. So, and just like, I've been converted. I've been converted. I have been. And it's been a best benefit, but I had to have the accountability. I had to look myself in the mirror and do that. And now everything just It's just running smoothly.
Dr. Worrell, I saw your hand.
I was just saying that I'm one of those guys.
Yes,
Jenna retired years ago. Anyway,
yes, it is. And then also, yes, it is. His wife and I were on the mixer last month. So if you've not watched it, do make the time to watch it because it will change you. It was his sermon.
Mm.
I do like what Dr. Lila also added. She mentioned that being able to honestly take accountability, it helps you get from that mindset of being a victim because it's very easy because we do understand it's systemic, it's structural. Like the field of dentistry itself, it's some of the things it puts your body and your brain through. It's systemic, it's structural, it's not a flaw. It is the way it was designed. And it is very easy to always feel like the victim. Like they're doing it because there's just three of us in this class. How you mentioned a lot, like even like with like the honest accountability, how do you do when you feel like it's when you feel like the victim all the time? They're doing this because I'm one of the three. How do you stop yourself from feeling like a victim all the time? Because
It's
it's
your
very
big.
easy to feel like the victim all the time.
So
Well,
I don't like
if I can
pain.
jump,
I'm speechless.
sorry, may I jump in really quick?
Yes.
Come off camera. Well, I just want to say, I mean, thanks for that question, Luma, because we feel like the victim, because you're relating to the fact that in the dental school, when you're the one, the few,
Hmm.
or the only, right? And that's where that imposter syndrome is coming around because they're not building this structure, this infrastructure to support us. And so what you're teaching us, Dr. Williams, is we have that power within ourselves not to let us take in the fact that they're making us feel less than. And so we have to make sure we're not feeling like a victim, even though they are not creating this environment around us for us to thrive at times. If you have faculty, who are biased or anything like that, or, you know, co um, students, classmates who are not including you in study sessions and stuff like that, um, or not having access to the study guys. So how for our students and our pre-dental students and our dental students who are watching, like how can they fight that?
All right, I was biting my tongue. You open me in. Screw them. Screw them all. And I'm being so serious. Um, well, number one, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, you made the decision to come to this school. Either they entice you with money or they said, oh, you're beautiful and black. Let me put you on our website and our magazine. You made that decision, so you put on your big boy pants and big girl pants and sit up there and take it. The challenge is that you suffer in silence. The reason why Dr. Highshaw made this is so that y'all don't have to suffer in silence, that you can get the mentors to navigate this process. And if you want to play the what is it? Uh, mad black woman, that doesn't work because you're gonna get eaten alive. And so what you do is you own it. You get with individuals who successfully gone through the process and you sit there and play the game. It is a game. It is a game. And they don't care about you. Period. So it's up to you. You made the decision to cross these waters. I told you that you have health on the line, your sanity, your relationships, your money on the line. Everything's on the line right now. And you said, hey, I want to be a doctor. I want to have three little letters by my name. Well, you made that decision. This is what it takes. And I'm not going to allow you to play that victim mentality because if you want to play in these waters, you get to come and put on your little, what is those little things, those little pads, little burpees or whatever those things are. Like you have to make the determination coming out here. And so nobody cares about you. Nobody should care about you because you're making the decision to come in these waters. But when you are in there and you find individuals like Dr. Highshaw and her team to facilitate your growth and development, thank God that she listened to what God has placed on her heart. And so with that being stated, it's you got to just own it. Period. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Don't cry because nobody's going to care. They're just going to take your money. Now you're going to be $67,000 to $80,000 in student loans. And then, with a mental illness, taking medications. That's why I said before, you better pray to God that this is something that he's leading you on, because if not, you're screwed from the start. And those student loans, you can't default, you can't go bankrupt on them. So nobody's going to care if you don't care enough to look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, I made this decision. This is where I believe God is leading me. This is where I believe that I'm going to make a positive dent in this world, and you make it happen. I told you I started with 2.46 GPA. I did HBCU and University of Pennsylvania, which Ivy League. I put air quotes on there on purpose. So y'all know that, hey, he's not playing any games. So, and like when you understand that if you don't mind dealing with the pain, then you'll be just fine. But if you're going to sit up there and be a victim, you're going to have a mental illness on your hands that you're not going to be able. No prayer, no intervention, no exorcism. I go spiritual as y'all want is going to happen, because you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, all right, enough is enough. I did that with my 2.46 GPA. I did that with my marriage. I did that with my career. And now I'm sitting in front of you. Dr. Hayshaw would not let me speak to y'all if she didn't know that, hey, this guy's serious. And I go
That's the
raw.
truth. That's the
I
truth.
go raw. I get as transparent as y'all can be, so it won't be like, oh man, we just heard a good message. Now I'm giving y'all real life things that I am legitimately going through and I've successfully gone through, and we're
And it's
rewriting history as we speak.
right. And it's what I wish I knew decades ago. Like, unfortunately, I didn't get that till my 40s. So this is why I just really want to make sure everyone's learning that and really taking it in. Because like you said, it's not just in your professional development, but your personal, your relationships, all your relationships. So I know we sat on that for a while, but I thought it was important. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
You.
I was going to ask if any of the advisors had anything to add who are here. We have a certified life coach. I don't know if she's able to say anything. Dr. Wright, are you free? I don't know if she's still on or not.
I don't see her still
Not
on.
making it. Okay. Well, go ahead. Let's go to the next question because we want to squeeze all we can out of Dr.
You
Williams.
know, Dr. Jared, I think I just changed it to a 2-hour session. Just kidding.
Now you got it. Good.
I know for some people, as a fellow ordained elder, some of us depend on prayers. There is some people that is not, that feel like that is not an option for them. So what techniques, like, can you share what techniques can help in staying centered, and not just centered, but then like focused in balancing academic this academic pursuit and in your personal life? Because I feel like at some point they do have to meet, and you have to be able to be the same person because there is this joke that my work self is not my school self, it's not my house self. But I feel like in order to have the right mindset for everything, you have to find a way to be centered and focused such that all these different personalities are in harmony. What techniques do you recommend for something like that? That way you can ground yourself and focus.
So
Don't say hope and a prayer. We already covered that.
yeah, so all right, so
I have the question written down as well
yeah,
in the chat.
run that back by me one more time.
So what techniques can help me stay centered and focused when balancing academic pursuits with personal
Got it.
responsibilities?
So number one, if this is a spiritual or religious conversation question, then I would say this: be obedient. And what I mean by that is this: if you're not right with your conscience, you're doing stuff that you know you shouldn't be doing, but you're going to do it anyway and then pray for the best, good luck. You're going to need it. Because as somebody who believes in God, goes to church regularly, but actually believes, or put it like this, who is holy. And I'm going to tell you what that means. Holy is a word that's used in the Bible a lot. And the word that holy means integrated. It's shortened, it says integrity, which means who you say you are is actually who you are. And what happens is this, there's a lot of people who don't have integrity. There's somebody different in this space, and there's somebody completely different in another space. So they're not integrated, which means they don't have integrity. And so what happens is this, is that you need to be the same person you were created to be and continue to develop in that capacity. So no scripture or prayer or intervention is going to allow you to overcome your disobedience or you not being integrated. Because if you're not integrated, you're not going to be what you've been called to be. And nothing is going to allow you to facilitate that. And so what I want y'all to see is this, is that we all have a personal role to play in this whole grand scheme of things. And so personally, like I said, as an elder and going through all these different things that I went through, I realized that life wasn't working out for me, even though I had a position in a church. The only time it started working out to me is when I started being obedient to what I was called to do. That is 1 Peter 3:7, take care of my wife because my prayers won't be answered. I could say, man, she's not here. She's not doing her part when I'm not looking myself in the mirror. When I feel and think things about individuals and they weren't incongruent with what my principles were and practices were. And so I just want to say, like, it doesn't matter how many times you go to church or what you pray or what you believe. If you're not integrated or holy or basically are who you say you are, you're gonna have a hard time. And that's why there's individuals who have a ton of money blowing their brains out, individuals who have all this fame and fortune and they're snorting and using all sorts of drugs and getting over on alcohol. And the reason why is because they're one person over here and they're a different person over there. And so you have split brain. And you have a lot of people who are dealing with stuff. And all they got to do is just be who they are and be satisfied with that. Because, and the beautiful thing about it is everybody has a gift. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody was created to lead in some capacity. The challenge is that they haven't either taken the time to figure it out or they haven't been in the right environment so they can recognize that their gift means something and it's valuable. And once they use that gift enough, then they'll figure out what their purpose is in life. And so that's what I would say would be the best way to have that connection. But you have to start with looking at yourself in the mirror and being obedient to your specific call and why you put on this planet. There you go. Double-minded man or woman is unstable in all their ways. There you got it.
In all aspects.
It's real simple, ladies and gentlemen. Real simple.
Sarah?
Yeah, I'm here.
No, Sarah has her hand raised.
Yeah, what's up?
Yes. So the other question that I had was, how do you navigate trying to prove yourself in order to kind of get more opportunities for yourself in the field of dentistry and in dental school in itself, in a system that is predominantly working against you, especially if you're someone that wants to have the utmost impact on all people? How do you kind of go about that?
So you shouldn't have an impact on all people. Let's start there. Every business on this planet is very prejudiced. This is marketing and advertising 101 principles. You should be very prejudiced. And I'm not saying you like somebody better than somebody or racist. That's not the conversation. But you should be very specific. You should have an avatar on who you're supposed to be called to benefit or bless, right? So that's number one. Number two, you should never try to prove yourself because you are already fearfully and wonderfully made. You're already beautiful. You're already intelligent, and you have a purpose on this planet. You could smile. Yeah, there you go. So, and then number two, if you're in an environment that is not facilitating your growth and development, but you have to be there, then play the game. But you should not be shucking and jiving so that you can have somebody to approve you when no matter what you do is going to approve you. That's why a lot of people are getting in relationships, giving up their bodies, prostituting, doing things that they don't want to do, all to get ahead. And after a while, it comes back and bites you in the butt. Now, when a lot of people hear the word prostitute, they immediately think of sex. But sometimes people are prostituting being at jobs that they don't want to be at, and they have all their clothes on. So you need to understand, one, recognize that if you're supposed to be in this place, then you already have the skills, the abilities, and the character to be there. Number two, you don't need to exert yourself, and which means by dominating the situation to let yourself be poked out and say, hey, I'm here. Y'all need to recognize me. And number three, you don't need to be all things, all people. You need to know exactly what your gift is. Once you figure out what your gift is, you'll know what your purpose is. And then when you get in a room with individuals who operate at the highest level, you'll never look to the right and left and say like, oh my goodness, I need to be like them. I need to be like them. You'll be like, oh, I belong. Because I know what I bring to the table. I know what my gifts are. And nobody on this planet has your gifts at this particular point in time in the history of the world. And when you come on the stage and you understand that, nobody could touch you. And so I spoke on gifts. I'll just, you should write this down. A gift is what's easy for you, hard for others, what you'll willingly do for free. And this, when you're serving that gift, it's relevant to the people that you're serving. When you use that enough times, somebody's going to walk up to you and say, hey, you're pretty good at that. You need to do X. And then that will be your purpose. It's really just that simple. But if you don't serve willingly, you're screwed.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
Is it?
Yeah.
That is it.
Yes. Yes.
I needed to hear that. I know. I was like, is he talking about? Can't be doing that in front of everybody. But thank you. I mean, and Ursula, it's so true. I wrote it in the chat. You can't be everyone for everything. Can't be everyone to everyone. And I know we do that as Black women because we have the whole community on our backs. Right? We're involved in everything, helping everyone in our family, everyone in our extended family, all the organizations, our churches. We're spread so thin. But take it from me, you will get burned out. You will get physically sick. And then you can't serve anybody. Can't do it. So learn that lesson now. Do not wait another
Can I
minute.
just say this? Can I just say this? You dancing around it. That's why Dr. Hashaw and I work so well together. She sugarcoats it. I put like this: you will die. I'm not laughing.
True.
You will legitimately die.
She's right.
You are laughing. This is a serious matter. You will legitimately die, like no breath in your body. You'll have some mental illness. You'll have some cancer that will eat you from the inside out. You will die. It's not funny games. I play a lot, but like if they didn't tell y'all about me now, you're gonna know. You're gonna forever remember me. So
set those boundaries.
And as someone that understands, because we're both Cameroonian, so as someone that understands a little bit more of where she's coming from, I just need for you to understand that takers do not have any boundaries. So as a giver, you must set those boundaries because takers don't have any. They will take until you die, and they'll say you did not even die well. Takers have no boundaries. So we have to set those boundaries. I know it has to start like from like your siblings to your family to your parents to everyone. You have to set those boundaries because takers have none.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Thank you so much. Wow.
Takers have none.
Yeah.
I do have a few more, but in the interest of time, since we are up to the hour and it's a Wednesday, um, Dr. Jared is available if you would like to continue this conversation. We could schedule another time to have more of this. And I shared this with Dr. Lila, but then just personally, September is Suicide Awareness Month. And I think there is like it's all over. Like the career with the highest suicide rate has been dentists for a very long time, and there's a reason for that. So if a lot of the things I know I was laughing in the background because I know Dr. Jared and I know but a lot of the things he said, it's things that you need to go over and over and over and really put it in perspective, especially as it relates to yourself. If you do have any more questions that you like directed at him, please let me know. I'll get those to him. And Dr. Jared, and choose any number from 1 to 30.
3.
3. Okay, that is the code for today's attendance. I had the attendance link set up. But we were very fortunate that Dr. Jared had sessions like this every Sunday for almost a year. For almost a year. And all the recording is available on our YouTube channel. If there is a particular topic that you're interested in, I do have the outtakes. Is that what they call them? The bloopers? So we do have access to that. And believe you me, if you go back to 2020 and the whole of that period when he had this session, the vulnerability, the honesty, everything is like what you really need. And as I shared, like having that right mindset will help you through anything. And thank you, Dr. Jared. Thank you so very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you.
I'll stop the
Set
recording.
those boundaries.